are listening to the Sci-Fi Diner podcast. And now, bringing you the latest in science fiction movies and television shows. Here are your hosts.
This is the captain. We had a little problem with our engine sequence, so we may experience some slight turbulence and then explode.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Walter, put the cow away, would you? What is this place? It's a freak show.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Diner Classic. This is episode 18, and I'm one of your hosts, Scott Herzog.
And hello, I'm Miles P. McLaughlin.
Now, for those of you joining us for the first time in this classic moment, what we do is we basically take interviews that we've aired maybe 2 years ago, a year ago, and we strip out all the news and we say, you know what, the news dates itself real fast, but these interviews, they're forever.
True, very true.
Basically. And tonight we have a very special interview with a very special lady. Miles, why don't you introduce her?
Miss Chase Masterson. She played, best known as playing Leeta on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, but she also produced the indie flick Yesterday Was a Lie.
Yeah, with James Kerwin, right?
Right.
And I think we just had her on. James wasn't on this call, was he?
He was. They were both promoting their new project,
yes,
RUR.
Yes. Well, no, that was the most recent one. We had her on twice. I think she was just her
You're
the first
correct.
time.
You're correct. It was just her, and we also need to say Chris Pike from Subspace Comms joined us in interviewing Chase.
Chris Wood was with us as well, and had a chance to sit down and interview her as well. We just had a good time. Chase is one of the best, and one of the best ladies you ever meet.
She's still a lovely lady after it's been Deep Space Nine's been off the air for a few years, but she looks like she hasn't aged a day.
Yep. As all those beauty treatments. Yeah, or something.
It works.
But you know what? I have not seen her in Deep Space Nine yet.
Oh.
So I'm almost through season 2.
Okay.
And so when she come in, season 3 or 4?
Yeah, you'll see her in season 3. Yep.
Okay, well then I'm looking forward to it. Now, I do have a question. You can choose not the answer. Do they axe a character off for her to come in as a character?
No, they do not.
They don't. So all the characters remain, they just add her in.
They just add her in, yes.
Very good. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Well, we hope you enjoy our interview. This is an interview we did. This is off of yesterday about her work on Star Trek, but also Yesterday Was a Lie.
Yep.
And we hope you enjoy our interview with the lovely, the enigmatic Chase Masterson.
Excuse me. You're Dr. Bashir, aren't you?
That's right.
I'm Leeta. I've been meaning to come by the infirmary to see you.
Oh, dear. How long have you had that cough?
A few days now.
May I? Cough for me.
Is it serious, Doctor?
No, but it's a good thing you came to me when you did. We need to start your treatment immediately. Bring me a finale and toddy. Very hot. Make that 2. I'm feeling a bit of a cough coming on myself.
I'm sorry to hear that, Doctor.
Oh, please. Call me...
Julian.
Hi.
I'm Jadzia.
Leeta.
Before I forget... Here's that immunological data you asked for.
How nice of you to put it together for me so quickly. I think I'll go over it right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight I'm very excited to introduce our guest to you. I'm a huge fan of this lady and her work we were talking with the lovely Ms. Chase Masterson, who's been named one of the 50 Sexiest Women by Femme Fatales Magazine. And on a TV Guide online readers poll, she was voted favorite science fiction actress on television, and AOL named her the 10 Sexiest Aliens in history. Her work has included guest roles on such popular shows such as ER and Sliders, and has lent her voice talents to the animated movie of Robotech, The Shadow Chronicles. What some of you may not know is that Ms. Masterson also is a talented recording artist and a producer, which we'll talk about later. However, you, the fans, probably best know Ms. Masterson for playing the vivacious and adorable Leeta from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Not only that, but she's done her part in supporting our troops overseas by taking part in the USO tours and helping out in our own country as well. Ms. Masterson, welcome and thank you for taking time to talk with us on the Sci-Fi Diner podcast.
Wow, you guys, thank you. Thank you so much, Miles. That was such a nice intro. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm delighted to talk to you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Likewise. Congrats on all that you guys are doing. It looks like a great thing you've got going.
We have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. Cool. I can tell. That's great.
Yeah. So we were kind of mentioning just before we started recording here that you had done some work, at least a little bit of work in some fan-run movies, television episodes, that sort of thing. And even though it's not been a huge focus, but why don't we start there just a little bit? Tell us a little bit about what you've done regarding that.
Well,
I know it's just a little bit.
It was particularly fun in terms of the fan spectrum. It was fun working on Star Trek of Gods and Men. It was basically a professional / fan production, which means that the fans funded it and they were the crew and took part in various aspects of the productions, but it was directed by Tim Russ, who of course played Tuvok on Voyager, and it was written by one of the writers was Jack Trevino, who's one of my favorite Trek writers. He wrote Little Green Men and a few other episodes, and it was fun. Nichelle and Walter were the leads in the film, and it was featuring Tim and Garrett and J.G. Hertzler and a whole bunch of us. And, I think the biggest reason that it was so much fun was that it did have the incredible fan spirit, this phenomenal energy that the fans bring to everything that you guys do. And then it had a lot of really great, it had professional backing. Doug Knapp, who ran the camera for Voyager, was the DP, and it was a really fun thing. It was a very difficult production to do. It was low budget and, all of that, but it still had that fan spirit, which is something that I really respect. And yeah,
very cool.
Would you be open to doing something like that again if the right thing came your way?
Oh, it's difficult to say. I really respect what the fans do in terms of their creativity and all of that. A lot of times it's difficult to block out time for that because there's other things that pull at us and all of that. I mean, if I didn't, I still want to let you guys know how much I respect the fact that you guys do, because, the fan spirit with the genre entertainment is more potent than I think in any other field, in any other genre. You just don't find that. And so, I don't know. I mean, when we see it as actors, even if we're, just watching and not participating, we're always heartened and impressed by how much you guys love this genre, and that's part of why we love it.
Right.
Cool.
I also saw that you were part of the Starship Farragut animated episodes, giving voiceover talent for that. Was that your other? Yeah. Was that your other fan one that you were thinking of? No,
Starship Farragut was the only other one that I've done, and also that was largely because Jack Trevino brought me on, and he's such a wonderful writer, and the script really resonated with me. And I, in turn, brought Tim Russ onto that one, and also Vic Mignogna, who's a wonderful actor who's at the top of the anime voiceover world. And, that was a fun thing to do. I haven't seen it. I've heard it's really lovely, though.
Yeah, it is, and you can find them on YouTube, but they're excellent. They do they're beautifully done in the style of the 1970s Trek.
That's what I hear.
So they do it justice. So
we were at the Shore Leave convention. We were at the Shore Leave convention this last weekend, and the Starship Farragut group was there, and they had a chance to have a room where they can show some of their stuff, and so they showed that, and that was the fans really liked that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, they're doing some cool stuff lately.
Yeah, well, go ahead, Miles. Take us into some of our questions. I know that the fan wasn't necessarily the direction we were going to take the early interview, but
that's right. Well, we know you from your playing Leeta in Deep Space Nine. How did you get that role?
You know, it's a funny story. I had made it a point to meet the casting director for Star Trek because I knew that it was a really quality show, that the stories were very strong, and that it would be a great entrance into this genre world. And I knew that because the fans were so faithful, that would be, for one thing, it would be a neat career move. And also, I was just impressed by, everything that I knew about the genre. The combination of storyline and, as I've said, the fan response was something I really wanted to be a part of. So I paid $30 to meet the casting director at that time, Ron Surma, at a pay-to-meet showcase. And that's where you basically just go in and you audition, a cold reading, they hand out sides, and you get to do your work for them. And sometimes you hear from them, but most often you don't. Well, I got called in for one other role, and I didn't get that. But as I heard, off of that other audition, they wrote the role of Leeta for me. Ira Bear told me that when we were in the, I guess, the 5th season. He let me know that that's basically what happened. So it was a real honor. I mean, to be on a show like Star Trek at all, to be part of that legacy is huge, and it's kind of a neat way to get in.
Right, and it gave you pretty steady employment for about 5 seasons, right?
I was on the last 5 seasons. Yeah.
Very cool. And that cool. And Miles, how long did that? And I guess Chase, you can answer this too. How long was Deep Space Nine running?
7 seasons.
7 seasons. So the last 5 of that. Very cool.
And it could have run longer, but Ira Bear made a wise decision to pull the show. The network definitely would have had it on longer. When we went off or out of production, we were the #1 syndicated show in the world. In the United States, of males between the demographics ages of 17 and 34.
Okay.
So.
Also not to butt in here, but DS9 leaving on the 7th season was much like Next Gen. You guys left on the perfect high note. No, it was a perfect high note. Perfect story arc. Great shows, great casting, great writing. It didn't actually have a time to go into any kind of lull. So it was actually really good timing for the send off for DS9.
Yeah, I think it's a very courageous choice to quit while you're ahead. And in this industry, nobody ever knows what is going to really happen next, and if your next show is going to be as popular. There's just no guarantees. So when you make a decision like that, it comes at great risk. And yet Ira was, I guess, he was just really wanting to make sure that this show did not fade to black, but that they left the audience still wanting more, where the storylines were still extremely pertinent. And we think that, as painful as it was to see the show end, we were all very sad. We all had different projects to go on to, but it was still sad. We feel like Ira made the right decision, and Rick, of course, and, it's a beautiful 7-season package.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it was really a gutsy move on his part. I'm sure that with the network wanting you guys to come back, it could have been very lucrative, but yeah, it takes a lot of guts to do something like that.
I think so, definitely. And Michael Piller, I have to also include on this conversation. I mean, he was just such an amazing writer, such an amazing man, God rest his soul. And, that team was so special. Teams like that don't happen very often in the entire history of television, I think, when you think about the writers that came out of the Deep Space Nine writing cast. I talk about this a lot, but I have to say it. Ron Moore and Renee Echeverria and obviously Ira and Hans Beimler and Robert Hewitt Wolf and Bradley Thompson and David Weddle, just, incredible people and incredible writers, and they've gone on to write, arguably some of the best shows on television in history. So it's, a pretty neat legacy.
What I liked about Deep Space Nine was also that it was a strong ensemble effort. I love all things Star Trek, but a lot of it is, there is the big three, or it's centered on one person. But on Deep Space Nine, it was definitely a strong ensemble effort, and even those, the supporting characters played a huge role and even stood out in contributing to the show's success, I thought.
I think so, too. I really agree. Deep Space Nine was one of the first, or if not the first, real episodic hour show of its kind. And, a lot of shows that, had an ongoing storyline really at all didn't have anything as intricate as Deep Space Nine, where the writers trusted the audience to come back week to week, and I think the fans appreciated that. They were able to really chew on the storyline and think about it over the course of the week and turn next week, but that places a lot of faith in your audience, and for that reason and what you just addressed, this show was extremely unique. In that there are recurring characters in the world and in our lives, and it's so nice to see the world fleshed out in the way that they had it in Deep Space Nine, instead of just following 5 or 7 series regulars around,
Right. Absolutely. And I think that that was kind of a departure for Star Trek at that point. I mean, Next Gen, the original series at that point, were all very, you could watch an episode and come back 5 weeks later and watch another episode, and you won't really have missed much in the storyline. And you really couldn't do that with Deep Space Nine. Right.
It was definitely a risky choice on their part, but it worked. And I think it's one of the reasons that many, many fans say that Deep Space Nine is their favorite Star Trek, and I'm just repeating what I've heard now. Right. A lot of the different shows, they all have their people that say that about them, but we've heard that a lot, and I think it's because of the depth. And if you can't have depth in science fiction, where can you have it? I think that's partly why you guys are so enthusiastic, because it speaks to your hearts, and it's pretty neat when that can happen in entertainment.
Yeah. We were sitting down with, this weekend we got a chance to sit down with Edward James Olmos from Battlestar, and he made that same comment that science fiction at its best is really, really addresses deep issues of humanity. And I think that's one of the things that Deep Space Nine did.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's a real honor to be a part of that, because I think that the privilege of speaking to an audience's heart is by far the best thing about being in this business, other than possibly the work that you do off camera, off the lot, which is reaching out to the world around you in real, concrete, tangible ways.
Right.
When you get to be, part of a show that makes you contemplate, war and peace, like Deep Space Nine did, and family and IDIC and all of those great issues, subjects. It's work that matters, and as an actor, you don't always have that privilege. A lot of times, you just get put on a show, and frankly, you're happy to work at all, because this business is so competitive.
Right.
So that was really the best of all possible worlds.
I know for myself. Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. I was just going to say what made Deep Space Nine so special for me. It had some of the most emotionally exhilarating and emotionally draining episodes in the history of Star Trek. Just to be able to play that gambit, and then have episodes that didn't necessarily take themselves too seriously, like Little Green Men, some of the Vic Fontaine episodes. It made Deep Space Nine really special for me, and really enjoyable to watch. Something that I also like, bringing on your character Leeta. It also, we got to see more Bajorans in a different light than Kira, but also it helped grow the Ferengi characters with Rom and Leeta and Rom's marriage and relationship, and the relationship with Nog, and it just Deep Space Nine for me is my favorite. It hasn't always been my favorite. I grew up watching the original series in syndication and then Next Gen first run. But Deep Space Nine, after watching, several episodes, it quickly became my favorite. So
that's so nice to hear. It did touch on so many different aspects of humanity, and I think that, again, those writers, they are great people, so they can write from their hearts. They can write both incredibly poignant drama and really fun comedy. I loved playing Leeta in a lot of ways, and yet I will say I've lately gone on record as saying I do wish that there had been more of a fleshed out experience to who Leeta was. I know that they brought her on to be comic relief and that she was fun and funny and silly, and it was all very kind of broad and slapstick with the Ferengi, and that kind of comedy would never fly these days in terms of science fiction, because the genre world is so much grittier now that we've had Battlestar, that the zeitgeist of our culture is just, I think, a lot grittier than it was 15 years ago.
Right.
But I do wish that there had been more of a just more of an outer strength, more of an external edge to Leeta. But I do agree that it was a lot of really neat, very Star Trek storylines that Leeta got to play with. Marrying the scary guy, even though he was the kid runt underdog brother who everyone made fun of. And, Leeta drops the beautiful British doctor in order to be with Rom. That's a very Star Trek choice, because it really is about who someone is on the inside and the potential that they have, which is able to grow under nurturing and love. And I think that's a very Star Trek theme. I was very happy to be a part of things that are that meaningful to the fans.
Yeah, and I think that's just something that Star Trek does real well. It kind of flips those notions and our prejudices, the prejudices that we have, and kind of explores them. And I think that's a great example of that.
It's so true, and it's such a neat way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just speaks of I think we all have that thing inside of us that yearns to be seen for who we really are, and not who we're getting to be in the moment, not who we were in high school, not who the world thinks we are when they see all of our mistakes day to day, but to have the hero brought out in us. And it's a very Star Trek theme. We all want someone to have that kind of faith in us. And I tend to come from a very spiritual base in my life, or at least I hope I do. And I think that's the kind of potential that God sees in us, the beauty of us, not the you did this wrong and that wrong, but look at you. You are so lovely. Like the song says, God. like James Darren sang in the final episode of Deep Space Nine, just the way you look tonight, you are lovely. And it's such an important message to be able to tell people. I love the way that Star Trek does that.
Right. The value of the human being.
It's interesting that Deep Space Nine was not afraid to deal with spirituality. I think that was one of the first times in Star Trek that it, I'm not saying the other series didn't deal with it, but it was like, this is part of the people's culture. It's what makes them who they are. I'm glad that they explored that on Deep Space Nine, the Bajoran's faith, and how for many of them, that's what got them through the tough times in their life when they were under the occupation. Yeah,
that's who gets me through. I know that, definitely. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I much prefer spirituality over religion per se, but yes, it's either one is rarely approached with any degree of success on television. I think one of the best ways to do that is through science fiction, because it's allegorical. You don't want to hit people over the head with anything, really, with a certain belief system or a set of rules. That's not how I believe it's meant to be. When you're able to have the beauty of spirituality and those messages creep up on you, and then you go, oh, okay. That's how I can apply it to me.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
What are you working on?
You ever feel like you hit a brick wall and you're never going to get through and you ought to know damn well, let it go. So I come in here and tip a few, wake up with a migraine tomorrow afternoon and try again.
I meant what kind of drink you're working on. But hey, whatever you feel like sharing.
This notebook you're looking for must be pretty damn important.
It is.
This notebook hasn't been seen since the Second World War. He knows where it is.
Somebody knows. I was wondering if I could speak with this professor.
I think you should leave. And tell your friends they're not welcome here anymore either.
Somebody else has been here?
What you got there?
I keep coming across a term in something I'm investigating. Menestra Eternitatis.
Window of Eternity. You know, some people believe there are other realities, and every choice we make spawns another.
What happened? Choices have consequences, Will. You still think there's some formula that could explain all this? No, I am not crazy. Then why do you keep coming back here?
Linear time is a myth. You don't live life in order. You just think you do.
You're dealing with the tip of something that really isn't comprehensible. You mean experiencing dream time? I mean experiencing regret.
Not only do you act, but you also sing, and you took up being a producer. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? You have a couple of albums out.
Thank you. Yes, I'm really excited about what's been happening in music lately, particularly in terms of a film that I recently did called Yesterday Was a Lie. It's a beautiful film, and I can touch on my own music later, but I want to say I'm so proud of Yesterday Was a Lie. It's a film noir, sci-fi noir, shot in classic black and white, which has won a ton of awards on the festival circuit. We won over a dozen Best Feature and Audience Awards. We were released theatrically in December, and then released in wide release on E1, which is a great distributor, in April. So we are everywhere. The film is, on Netflix, Blockbuster, Amazon, everywhere that you can get a film. And we've received rave reviews. I'm very fond of the film because it's so visionary. It was written and directed by James Kerwin, who is an award-winning writer-director. Definitely someone to watch. And the film deals with quantum mechanics as a metaphor for human relationships. So all of those things that are touched on in quantum mechanics, Schrodinger's cat and reverse causality, and the possible multi-worlds theory, and all of these things that you didn't think this Dabo girl was going to be talking to you about tonight. A lot of very heady concepts are very beautifully paralleled into a character drama, and basically a story about relationships, and following one woman as she struggles to reconcile her past with her present. I play a woman that the lead character encounters. I'm the second lead in the film, and I help her on her journey to discover the truth about some of her past. And I love the role I played. It's the role of a jazz singer, and I get to sing 4 songs in the film. I love singing jazz. I have since I was 13 years old. Golden era jazz has always been my favorite, and so with this being noir, I got to do that in this film. The music is gorgeous. I'm not even saying just my vocals. I don't mean that, but the soundtrack is spectacular. It was composed by Christopher Carter, who this week was nominated for, I think, his 6th Emmy nomination. Yeah, Christopher Carter, definitely somebody to look up. We're so proud to have had him on this. The cinematography is incredibly beautiful. It's truly noir in all of its finest. And the work is lovely. Kipley Brown plays the lead. She was in one episode of Enterprise. She played Ensign Crewman Taylor, who was in a Trip episode, Enterprise The Forgotten. And the male lead is John Newton, who long ago played Superboy. You guys might be familiar, and since then he's been on Melrose Place and Desperate Housewives and a whole bunch of other stuff. Definitely a familiar face and a wonderful actor. And then finally, last but not least, it is the first role out of makeup for Peter Mayhew, who played Chewbacca in Star Wars, of course.
Oh, wow. I didn't know he was
Yeah. Yeah, Peter's a friend of mine. He's been a friend since literally my first convention over here is where I met Peter and those guys, and he was just an absolute gem, a saint. He made on this low-budget film about what he makes in signing autographs for maybe an hour. He made on our whole film, but he agreed to do it and was such an amazing good sport about it. He has a cameo role, and it's a silent role, but his amazing face and presence adds a whole lot to this, and I think that Star Wars fans will also appreciate that.
Very cool. And I know that it's available for streaming on Netflix, so it's something I'm definitely...
wait, I have to cut in and say that. I will ask you all, each and every one of you listening right now, just a personal favor, please don't watch it streaming on Netflix.
Okay.
We're actually trying to get that pulled. The reason being that there's weird things, artifacts, pixelation. The noir, the cinematography does not look good on that streaming. And we've actually had some comments about that online. So if you see any comments about the cinematography, it was likely by someone who had seen it under that. I would say really, truly, your best bet. Well, of course, it's always nice to own a film, and there's some great DVD extras. On Yesterday Was a Lie. A lot of.
Can you still rent the DVD?
Yeah, you definitely can rent it. I was just going to say, you can rent it from, you can rent it from Netflix and rent it from Blockbuster and definitely other places. So I would say one of those two, if you wanted to pick it up from through Amazon or somewhere else or rent it. Much better than streaming on Netflix.
Well, very cool. We'll make sure that our listeners know that so they can maybe get a better experience in with it. Obviously.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to mention that. It's just I know that it's available.
Oh, no.
That way.
And I'm sorry to be so adamant about it. It's just that's kind of one of our big deals. You know, as a producer, you come to realize that there's a whole lot of things that you need to keep track of with your baby. And so wearing my producer's hat, I'll say check out the trailers. There's 2 great trailers up at yesterdaywasalie.com. And there's a bunch of reviews and production stills and all that stuff that are definitely worth a look.
Well, I am looking forward to seeing it. Did any of you guys, Miles? Did you Miles or Chris? Chris, did you see it?
No, I haven't actually. I didn't know that it was available for rent. I've been following the site for a while because I saw you had mentioned it on Twitter, Chase, and I've definitely wanted to pick it up and check it out. But I honestly didn't know it was available, so it's going to be added to my wish list on Amazon. But the trailers are fantastic, and the movie looks great. So.
Thank you so much.
I've seen the trailers, and I agree. They do look great. I will put that on my queue to rent that off Netflix. Is that copy still a good copy you'd recommend?
Yeah. Renting it on Netflix is just great. Absolutely. And, definitely watch the DVD extras if you can do that because it's, I don't know, the science of it is actually, it's not incredibly easy. It's not a no-brainer. It's a challenging film. It's a film that requires something of its audience. It asks more questions than it has answers. But in that, the comment that we've received most is, "Oh my gosh, I've got to watch it again." And it's not so that they can understand, but now it seems to come full circle when you've seen the whole thing, and then you realize, oh gosh, this entire time I've been watching a film that's fraught with symbolism, and everything means something, and it's pretty rich, I have to say. So, anyway, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts.
Yeah, well, definitely. We will. I'm sure that when we watch it, we'll have to do a review show. Maybe we should plan that, Chris. Chris and Miles review show on on this film. And maybe we should bring you back on for that, Chase. Well, anyways, we can do that.
Love it. Thank you.
Talk a little bit about your singing outside of Yesterday Was Live.
Thank you. It's going well. I headlined at Universal City Walk last summer, and that was really fun. I've been currently working on my new CD, which is going to be my first real commercial release. It's going to be entitled Thrill of the Chase, which is the title of my first CD, which I'm just basically redoing a couple things and re-releasing it. I'm excited about the music. I don't know. I mean, it's such a great form of expression, and I sang a couple songs in Robotech too. So it's a couple of the last projects that I've done. I'm singing in.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, thank you. We're excited. We're also probably going to have a soundtrack deal on Yesterday Was a Lie, not to get back to that. But so it's, music is potentially moving forward in a pretty neat way.
Yeah, and and so you've had some albums out, but there were more, I guess, independent releases then. Yeah,
they're more fan oriented, frankly. I will say that we've raised lots of money through the sale of these CDs, and we usually donate to charity. Or we always donate to charity. What am I saying? So that's kind of been, that MO. But the next one will be full on out there, in stores, iTunes, etc. Yeah.
Well, very cool. And they can find that on your site, right? They can find some of that information on his past albums. And the new album, I assume, will be available from that as well.
Yeah. Go to ChaseMasterson.com and hit music, and I think that transfers you over to ChaseClub.com, where my fabulous fan club president, Stompy, will be able to assist.
Well, there you go. Yeah. And now the new album that's coming out, is that, again, you mentioned that is that, again, like jazz-oriented?
Yeah, it's going to have a little bit of an edge, though, a little bit more, just more current fun stuff as we're planning it. I'll keep you guys posted, definitely. One of the CDs that I'm drawing some tracks from was produced by Dave Pell, who is an amazing friend of mine. He's 85 years old. He was the saxophone player for the Rat Pack. And
wow.
He also produced Sinatra and Count Basie. And
those are some names to have behind you.
Say it again.
I said those are some names to have standing behind you.
It doesn't get any better than that. And
no.
Dave brought on a man who has unfortunately since passed away, an amazing man and musician, pianist Bob Florence, and he was the piano for Dean Martin when Dean Martin did his show, and his show on television, and he also arranged. Billy May, the famed composer, said, when I want a composer who also arranges, I call Bob Florence. And so, just getting to work with guys like that, what a huge privilege,
Right. Chris, you said you had some questions?
Yeah, actually, I was going to talk about a short-lived, I guess it wasn't necessarily short-lived because I think you did it for about a year, something that I really used to enjoy. TheFandom.com, the interview series you did. Yeah. I was just going to ask, how did that come about, and what was what were the circumstances behind its demise? Because I know you had tons of great interviews with lots of Trek stars. You had an interview with Joss Whedon, Ron D. Moore, Brandon Braga, Robert Beltran. Just a lot of really interesting interviews that not only were about Star Trek, but really went into depth. With the actors and directors and producers, but I was just curious, how did you get involved with that?
Thanks for asking. I was just thinking about that show a few minutes ago, thinking I used to do this. They basically, this company, Creative Light, which I'd worked for a few times before. I think that was like my 5th project with them or something. They produced a film that I did with Maggie Grace, and we worked on a bunch of stuff through the years together, and they called me and said, Chase, call all your friends and have them on a podcast. So that's basically what I did. I was able to, just leverage friendships and say, come on, guys, be on my show. And I guess the science fiction genre world is a pretty small world, and once you start meeting a few people, you meet all the rest. And so it was nice to have all those guys come on and talk in detail. And I was very clear in wanting it to be an hour show where we could talk, not just, so what's your next thing and how'd you get started? I wanted to talk more in depth. I think that genre fans deserve that. So yeah, we had a good time with that.
Yeah, it was very intimate too, which I found very interesting.
Thank you. Well, it was probably one of the first times anyway that people could say, oh, she's not just a Dabo girl. She can think on her feet. And it was fun in that respect, and very nice to hear some big truths coming out of amazing people's minds. It was unfortunately ended because Creative Light went out of business. They folded. But, that company, I have to say, they did some amazing things while they were running. They did Mind Meld with Shatner and Nimoy. And they did Comic Book the Movie. I met Stan Lee through them, and Stan's been a pal ever since. And they did that amazing DVD with Stan and Kevin Smith. It's just a tough business, so...
Yeah, Mind Meld is actually one of my favorite documentaries about Shatner and Nimoy. It's really, really interesting. I don't know if folks have seen it out there. Also, I noticed that you're actually is it on ChaseMasterson.com or ChaseClub.com where you're hosting the episodes of the fandom, so people can go back and re-listen to a lot of the interviews.
Oh, really? Gosh, I didn't know. But that's how thorough Stompy Hollow is about keeping my Chase Club site up. He's got stuff on there that I don't even know about. So maybe.
Stuff you don't even know you did.
Right.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, you can find it by Googling Chase Masterson, the fandom. There's a page there with the list of the actors that were interviewed and links to the MP3s of the show. But, yeah, I have to say that I listened to that religiously. And you guys also streamed that live, right?
Yeah, we did. We went live, and then we were also pretty heavily listened to in archives. So I guess we still are.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, really good stuff, though. If people out there haven't listened to it, it's definitely worth a listen. So.
Well, thank you. That's really nice to hear. I appreciate that.
Is there anything else that's coming up for you that you can tell us about going on either through music, film, or TV or whatnot?
So ironically, I was mentioning this to Scott earlier today. We are like really on the verge of making a big announcement, and I wish with all my heart I could talk about it right now, but I can't. So that's kind of a big hint to say if you'd like to have me or the Yesterday's Lie bunch back at some point, I can say some other things about some stuff that I'm doing. I can't say it tonight. I literally maybe 24 hours later I could have, but right now we're just kind of right on the crux of that. So there's actually another announcement that's going to be happening regarding Yesterday Was a Lie also. So maybe that would be a good time if you wanted to have James Kerwin, the director, is just an incredibly brilliant mind that could be a fun guy to talk to if you wanted.
Oh, well, yeah, you mentioned him, and maybe that's someone that we can have in the show a little bit later on. Then I'll keep in touch with you and maybe just get his contact information from you then.
That sounds great, and then I can tell you my big secret.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and if you want to, if when you said in the next 24 hours or so, maybe. If it happens before Thursday, let's say, and you want to shoot me an email, I'll just I can record a little segment just telling people about it, or maybe I can find time to just have you call in for about 5 minutes and we can do a little addendum to the show.
Cool. That sounds great. I just want to insert this. It's not like a big A-list movie role. I'm not about to, play opposite Tom Cruise or anyone.
Right.
It's actually an internet thing, but it's something that I'm excited about and proud of. So definitely.
That is the genre that's kind of being pushed right now. Webisodes and other TV shows that are coming out just for the web. So.
Thanks. I mean, it's going to be fun. So yeah, definitely. I'll let you know as soon as we can break the news.
Yeah. So that's a big thing that's coming. And again, do you guys have any questions for Chase before we've taken up a bunch of our time tonight? We appreciate the time you've taking to sit down and chat with us about your work in Star Trek and Yesterday Was a Lie and the many other things that you do.
Thank you. I have one other thing, if you'd like.
I would love to hear. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, when you go on to chaseclub.com, and there's just a zillion pictures, a bunch of them are signed, and we do that to raise money for a charity that I really love called Homeboy Industries. And I'll just say real quick, I've been mentoring ex-gang members there for about 2.5 years and working hands-on with them on a weekly basis, and I've been privileged and just so blessed. I really thank God that I've been able to see into these people's lives in a way that most people can't. It's been an amazing lesson for me in withholding judgment and seeing the beauty in individuals that, that the rest of the world sometimes says, you guys are bad guys. And it's the level of transformation and redemption is just absolutely amazing there. I mean, they're certainly culpable and responsible for their own choices, but they're people who have chosen to make a new path for themselves and are completely making a very big decision to leave their past behind, which usually most of them were born into. They were born into horrific circumstances, and we're able to help. And it's one of the neatest things in the world to see that happening on a regular basis. So I donate a portion of the proceeds for pictures and CDs to them, and we end up doing a really good job, and all of that. So anybody who wants more information on Homeboy, you can shoot me an email through the website, or you can look up homeboy-industries.org. And I just wanted to say thanks for helping me get the word out about that.
Yeah, and best yet, they can support it by actually getting on and supporting you by buying some of those photos.
Thank you. Or, just support the charity. I don't mean for you to have to go through me.
Right.
It's definitely the neatest thing about being in this genre is being able to point people toward great causes. And, that means just one more, if you would. One other cool thing that's happening in the world of fandom, I can't believe I waited this long to talk about it, is TrekFederation.com is a neat group of science fiction Trek fans. It's the largest group of Trek fans worldwide, and they've asked me to be their spokesgirl. So I am the face of the Federation, and I took on that. Thank you. I took that on because I see their hearts, and they are really wanting to band together and do some good things in the world. As Gene, as Gene started the trend of, boldly going into new places, and we're just trying to do that on this planet and taking on causes that may ordinarily not be really cared about. So that's my personal reason for wanting to get involved with them. And check out, there's an interview up on TrekFederation.com, and it's going to we're talking a little bit about how we're reaching out to the world around us. So
I just think it's awesome that you obviously are in love not only with the things that the charities and the things that you're involved with from that, but you're obviously in love as well with the genre that you've kind of been a part of, over the years, especially with Star Trek, and you continue to invest in it. And I think that that's kind of cool too.
Thank you so much. So, well, God has blessed me greatly, and I know why He's done that, because I'm going to get to give it back and pay it forward, and I think that's what the world is all about,
Yeah.
Love one another.
Chris, anything else you wanted to ask?
No, but I'll be seeing you in Vegas. I'm going to the Creation convention. I'll be there representing my site. It'd be cool to meet you and talk to you. And I just want to say that I know I've heard lots of interviews with you with different sci-fi podcasts, different Trek podcasts, but it's just super cool that you're so gracious and you come and talk to the fans and spend your valuable time with us. And I just really appreciate it.
Well, right back to you. Your hearts are beautiful, and I appreciate you having me here.
Yeah. And we appreciate you taking time to sit down and chat with us tonight. And by all means, if you're interested, we'll watch movie Yesterday Was a Lie, and maybe if you're interested, we can bring you on for maybe a short review and a short dialogue about the movie. If you're
awesome.
interested.
Yeah, just let me know, and we'd be happy to come back. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay.